All right, well, welcome. My name is Matthew McClure. I'm the board president for the University of Toledo Alumni Association. And today I'm really excited to be talking about our guest, Bryan Blair. Bryan is the vice president and director of athletics at the University of Toledo. And if you've been paying attention to college sports, you've definitely seen his work. Since we're taking over in 2022, Bryan has completely reshaped Rocket Athletics. We're talking numerous championships, record-setting fundraising, academic highs, and some of the most innovative tech and NIL initiatives anywhere in the country. He was actually the youngest FBS athletic director in the nation when he got the job, and he's been moving fast ever since. Bryan was named one of the Sports Business Journal's 40 Under 40 and is known as a builder, connector, and big-picture thinker. He is not afraid to push boundaries, whether that's with AI, brand strategy, or how his departments operate day to day. Before Toledo, he held leadership roles at Washington State, Rice, South Carolina, and even the NCAA. Oh, and he's a former Division I football captain. So he's lived this life from both sides. Off the field, he's a husband, a dad, and someone who genuinely cares about doing this the right way. I'm pumped for this conversation, so let's get into it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So from a big picture perspective, how would you describe the relationship between Rocket Athletics and our alumni community?
Yeah, I mean, we're almost one and the same to a certain fault, right? I mean, you take a step back, our Rocket alumni are a real big reason why I'm here. When you look around the country, and I was a number two at a Pac-12 institution, and my mentors were kind of guiding me and saying, well, what do you want your first AD opportunity to look like? They knew my wife was from Ohio, and so this region of the country was always appealing. But really, there was only one opportunity they kept pointing back to, and it was the University of Toledo. And it was really a remark about how this is the best job in the conference with the ability to be even greater. And I kept hearing that from individuals who had experience in the Midwest. And so you fast forward, and I get here, and what they meant by that was really the power of our alumni base, the power of this region, the power of those stakeholders associated with the university, give you in this seat the opportunity to do so much. And whether that be alumni's impact on our current student athletes, on our department, on our finances, fundraising, ticket sales, whatever it may be, they're a critical piece of the equation. And even as we recruit new staff members, I was having a conversation with a possible recruit this morning for a staff position. And as we talk about what differentiates us from so many of our competitors, it is our alumni base. Not only that they exist, but they're passionate, they're connected, and they're prideful about Rocket Athletics. And that means a lot. When you show up to work every day and you want to pour your all into something, you want to make sure people understand and certainly reciprocate that passion that you're trying to display. And I think our Rockets do that in spades.
Excellent. Yeah, I would agree. What are some simple, meaningful ways that alumni can stay involved with athletics, even if they can't necessarily attend games in person?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is something we're focused on a lot. I think historically we've so often focused, and it's a little natural, right? You focus on who you see at your games or who's right within the footprint of Northwest Ohio. But we've got Rockets nationwide, and we've tried to be even more intentional about getting out and seeing people. I can't always say, hey, you come back for this reason or for this game or like, but I can certainly get out and go see you, and certainly can our team. And I would say in today's day and age with technology being what it is, we've got more ways to connect with our Rocket alumni than ever before. So to hop on a Zoom or a phone call or whatever and say, hey, let me tell you about what's going on in Toledo. And so often we start with athletics, but we get to tell the story of the broader university because we're given a platform to really amplify the amazing things happening on our campus. We try to do that in a really intentional fashion. So one, getting out and seeing people, but two, using our technology to share those means. But I think for those individuals that are near, certainly there's ways they can help us. For those individuals that are far, spread the story of how amazing your experience was at Toledo. And as you learn about what we've got going on now, spread that story too. I think one of the things we're trying to do even better job of is spread our brand. This should not be a best kept secret, right? And I think there's so many things over the last 3.5, 4 years that I've been here that I've learned. And I'm like, why did I not know that? Like, I work in college athletics. How did I not know our facilities are what they are? How did I not know how passionate our alumni base is? How did I not know about the potential in Northwest Ohio or the major corporations that call Northwest Ohio home? How did I not know all that moving from around the country? And then I get here and I'm finding it out. I'm determined to make sure the world knows about this secret that is how amazing this place is, how amazing this university is. Our alumni, both near and far, can help us tell that story. And so often when you hear something from a commercial or ad, you hear it and it kind of goes in one ear out of the other. But when you hear it from somebody you trust or have a relationship from, it goes so much deeper. And so our alumni sharing things on their social media pages or just advocating for us as a whole, I think it helps everything at our university, not just our athletics program.
Excellent. Yeah, I think I've heard similar feedback that we're maybe too humble or we're afraid to brag a little bit, but we have a lot of excellent things.
Yeah, I think the Midwest humility is a thing. Good thing I'm not from the Midwest. Yeah, I'm not afraid to brag on this university.
Now, kind of turning that same question a little bit, have you received any feedback from alumni that has helped shape either the programming, initiatives, or other activities in athletics?
Yeah, probably the first one that comes to mind. So we instituted a fan council, I guess 2.5, 3 years ago, where we did more or less a call out and said, hey, if you've got an experience you want to share, we're going to convene a very intentional meeting on a regular basis with our staff to talk about how we make Rocket Athletics better. And so we had a lot of individuals come about, many of those alum, some not alum, to share their experiences and say, hey, you do this right, but here's something you do wrong. I think sometimes you shy away from feedback because you don't want to be told you're doing something maybe not at the highest level. I think I and our department are complete opposite, right? I actually get upset when somebody just tells me, hey, you did everything right, because I know that's not the case, because I put a lot of pressure on myself, and I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves as a department to constantly get 1% better every single day. So that fan council organized a group and said, hey, everything from popcorn to restrooms to ticket sessions, brochures, messaging, what should we be doing better, and how do we get there? I think probably the second example that comes to mind, we did our strategic plan when I first got here in 2022. And sometimes you see strategic plans where it's just the leader or their cabinet huddle up and launch out a plan. If we're really going to be the best version of ourselves, we need this community, this university, and athletics pulling in the same direction. And so I thought it was really important that when we do that strategic plan, we make sure all those different entities are in the room when we're having those conversations and talking about what Rocket Athletics being successful means to you. So if you're the mayor, if you're a chamber of commerce, or you're a business leader, you're alumni, or you're just a student at the University of Toledo, what is Rocket Athletics being successful? How could that help you in your endeavor? And then as we hear all those different factions, we pull those together and say, okay, here's our plan that as we get to our vision, everybody's happy with that vision because it helps serve them along their journey. That makes teamwork a little bit easier. And so we're always reaching out for different forms of feedback for different reasons. That's something that will not stop.
Yeah. And from what you said, it sounds like even if we're executing that plan, we might be happy to revisit and modify it just to push a little bit harder, a little bit better. So I like that aspect of it.
The reality is I'm very process focused. Like there is no end destination to where we're trying to go. And I think that can sometimes be scary to people because like, they're like, this guy will not let up. My staff will probably attest to that, but like this is a journey to excellence. And like, if we win a national championship one day, my next question is, how do we go for a repeat, right? Like there is no stopping point to what we're trying to do. And the scary / exciting thing is, I'm not sure most people associated with Toledo understand if Toledo Athletics fulfills even half of its true potential, how incredible we will be. We can be the nation's best G6 program, hands down. We've got all the intangibles, all the unique attributes to be able to accomplish that. If we do that, I think the work of the Alumni Association, the work of our president, the work of our board, the work in our city starts to be a lot easier when you've got a national story living in your backyard at Toledo that's bringing people together on a continual basis and building a sense of community, but also a sense of great pride.
So how does a strong athletic, and you kind of started on this, how does a strong athletic program benefit our alumni community in terms of pride, connection, or even professional networking?
I mean, for me, so much of what I do is not really about athletics. And I know sometimes that startles people. And I say, well, I'm an athletic director. But like, I don't think I actually work in athletics, right? I work in bringing people together around a common cause. I work in elevating the brand and the story of all the great things happening at our university. And so to me, the benefit of a strong athletics department is not wins and losses and trophies. I think that's a byproduct of the process. But I think it's so much of like when we go to the Glass Bowl on the opening weekend, and we've called it the biggest party in Toledo, you see everybody from every corner of Toledo all in one space high-fiving each other, hugging each other, embracing each other as long friends, it turns into a big family reunion almost, right? And you're seeing that happen. What else on our campus on a regular basis brings that amount of people together to celebrate all that is the university? And so certainly you have to have a successful department for that to happen at its best version. But that's a key piece of the equation. So then as we bring people together, we can start to really have that culture around all the things we're trying to do as a university, and whether that be better in our hospital, better in the student experience, improving enrollment, whatever those conversations need to be, philanthropy, all those things start with a common understanding, a common bond, a common community sense that we have. I would also say, and we did a value proposition study a handful of years ago as we talk about not only the sheer media viewership that we get via those national opportunities. There's not many things in Toledo, Ohio on a repetitive basis that get national attention for positive reasons like Toledo athletics, but even from an economic endpoint standpoint. I mean, we've got a big game tonight versus another MAC opponent that's coming in hot. You're going to have 4,000, 5,000 people in that arena, all coming, hopefully all wearing blue and gold, at least the vast majority of them, and feeling really good about their team, win, lose, or draw, or what that looks like. And so we certainly want to inspire from that standpoint. But I hope that we have the type of student athletes. In fact, I know we have the type of student athletes and coaches that represent this university the right way. We just broke our all-time GPA record with every team above a 3.2 GPA.
I was going to ask about that, and I think we've been either at the top or near the top of the MAC for GPA, graduation success rate, a number of the academic sides, not just the athletic sides, but our student athletes are excelling on, their respective fields, but also in the classroom and as leaders. And that's all you could really ask, right?
And I think the benefit of my career is I've worked at a couple different places. I realized that is not the case at most places around the country. I had to let the secret out, but we talk about within the Mid-American Conference, I'd say even nationally, to have every single one of your teams above a 3.2 GPA. But oh, by the way, we've won more championships in the last 4 years than the previous 17 years combined. We're not only having success on the field, but we're having success in the classroom. And usually most departments pick or choose one or the other. They win a lot, but then they say, don't look at our graduation rates. Don't look at our grades. Don't think about our kids going to class. We don't have time for that. Or on the flip side, you've got really great grades, but you're not having success on the field. And you say, well, at least we have good grades. At least our student athletes are getting a great education. The great thing about Toledo is we don't have to pick and choose. And I think the pressures of college athletics right now with the portal and NIL and all these different terms being thrown around, you feel more pressure than ever to stray away from that true mission. And I think we always want that to be our true north, that you don't have to pick or choose at Toledo, that you're going to leave with a championship ring on one hand. You're going to leave with a graduation and a degree in the other hand, something you're excited about. And you're going to sprint across graduation stage because you're so excited because we've done all we can do to prepare you for what's next in life. If we hit all three of those prongs, I think that's something all of our alumni can be really proud of.
I'd agree. So with today, I guess with our alumni today, how can they help ensure the long-term success and integrity of our athletics programs?
Yeah, well, I introduced them to our fundraising team. Just joking, kind of. I think certainly your time, talent, and treasure. We talk about that all the time, right? I think time committed to what we're trying to do is incredibly valuable. And whether it be coming to a game, spreading the word, some of it's just wearing a T-shirt or some gear around and saying, hey, I'm proud to be a Rocket. This means a lot to you. There's a lot of competition for your quote-unquote entertainment dollar in Northwest Ohio and nationwide. It's no secret. We've got behemoths 45 minutes up the road and down south in institutions that carry big, large national brands. And so when you put on a jacket with that Rocket logo on there, you wear a hat or you go to an event and say, hey, I'm proud to be a Rocket. Let me tell you about what we just did. Let me tell you about what we accomplished. That goes incredibly far, and showcases an ability. And again, coming from a trusted source that people know and recognize. And so I think there's a lot of ability there. I'd say second, the talents piece. One of the secret sauce elements I think of the University of Toledo is that we are in a major metro. I think so many of our peers are in small college towns, which there's a lot to love about being in a small college town. But given that we are in Toledo, our student athletes can literally go 5-10 minutes down the road and have a world-class internship experience or shadow somebody. I was just with an individual 2 nights ago across the street over in Inverness, and he's a local dentist. And he's got one of our volleyball student athletes shadowing him over this winter break because she wants to go into dentistry long-term. And so she's been in everything from surgeries to procedures to consultations and learning, okay, what does it look like? I think I want to do this, but let me get up close and personal and get hands-on learning, which is something a lot of student athletes don't get the chance to do because time demands and otherwise. We have that in spades here in Toledo. And then we have a community that's willing to raise a hand and say, hey, you can come stay with me. You can visit with me. You can internship with me. You can get experiences that propel you towards a career beyond sports. And so we've got to harness that, and we're working on it. We've got a program called Rocket Ascend, where Tracy Snyder on our team does a tremendous job of getting local leaders to be mentors for our student athletes and give them behind the scenes look at what it means to be a professional. My hope is that we've got incredibly talented student athletes. A larger percentage of them choose to stay in Northwest Ohio upon graduation because of those connections. As you know, in any kind of industry, if you start with a relationship, it's a little bit easier just to get started in your career and having somebody you know that truly cares about who you are and what your dreams are. If we can do that. And so your time, certainly, your talent, certainly, and then the treasure piece. I say it tongue in cheek, but college athletics and the pace that it's scaling at and the costs associated with are not letting up. So we've got something really, really special here at Toledo. But the moment you stop improving, you start falling behind. So everybody in our conference and in meeting around the nation view us as a North Star they're trying to pursue. When they go in their boardrooms, they put a slide of us up, say that's who we're trying to get to. I've seen the decks before. Right? I know that for a fact this happens. And so when you're being pursued, you've got to make sure you're continuing to move ahead to keep them in chase mode and not ever put yourself in a position where we're trying to catch up with somebody else. And so if we can knock all three of those prongs out, I think we're in really good shape.
Yeah, perfect. Little quick story, that example about wearing the gear. I mean, a couple years ago, family vacation, we were in Ireland, and my younger son was wearing a Toledo basketball shirt, and a nun came up to him from Notre Dame and said, man, that was just such a great game last year. And we talked for about 5 minutes. I would have never thought, even overseas, but I hear that more and more frequently now about how when friends, family, etc., are wearing Rocket gear outside of town, it usually leads to a conversation, some positive memories, some camaraderie. So it's a very real thing.
Yeah, I didn't quite know where that story was going at. I appreciate full circle. There's a nun, there's Ireland, and the like. But I mean, talk about reach, right? I mean, the fact that we played a football game versus the Irish, it came really close to knocking them off. And then you talk about a conversation overseas by virtue of wearing a T-shirt or a hat or a slogan. That conversation extends that brand every single time. And the more we can do that, don't look at it as just wearing a T-shirt or just wearing a hat. Look at it as you are a walking billboard for this institution. So if you're alumni and you're proud, wear that pride, right? And we're going to do an even better job of making sure we've got the merchandise and the gear for you to wear when you're out and about. But we want you sporting, and we want you sporting it loud and proud.
So you mentioned student-athlete experience a little bit. And I think maybe sometimes our alumni underestimate about how much they can impact that experience. And you kind of touched on it as far as internships, mentoring. How are you, or how do you plan to keep alumni who are former student athletes connected to the program and the university?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm being completely transparent, I'm not sure this is something we've done a great job of historically. I think alumni, by virtue of playing sports and student-athlete alumni, a lot of times are connected to that coach. And so as that coach transitioned or things change, they feel like they lose that connection, then you lose that connection forever. And so we've got to do a better job of really institutionalizing that relationship. I think Billy and the Alumni Association, and certainly you and the board, do a tremendous job of trying to push those initiatives forward, where hopefully the relationship is always about the institution, the University of Toledo, not solely tied to any one individual. I get individuals and those relationships are going to matter, and they always will. But we've got to really institutionalize those relationships. And that's something we're working hard of. We try to, especially with our pro Rockets, try to make sure we celebrate them and give them gear. Our basketball program, Ryan Rollins is having a tremendous season, a breakout year with the Milwaukee Bucks. They got a chance to go up to Detroit after they played Oakland and watch him play live and really interact with him after the game. And I think that serves two purposes. I'd like to think Ryan feels really proud about being a Rocket in that moment and representing Toledo. I also think those young men on that basketball team see that North Star of what maybe one day they can become from the University of Toledo. And I think, again, in this transitional environment we're in, painting that picture of you don't have to sacrifice by coming to the University of Toledo. You can pursue any dream possible from here, just like Ryan Rollins, just like Quinyon Mitchell, just like Sophia Wired, so many individuals that have come through here. That's a big piece of the puzzle. But shift that a little bit. Maybe I want to be like Matt McClure. right? Maybe I want to go into the business. Maybe I want to have my own organization, or maybe I want to be a lawyer or a doctor or a dentist or whatever. There's all these tangible examples that we can point to. We've got to do a better job of pulling those individuals close and getting them around our student athletes.
Yeah. So looking forward or looking ahead, what opportunities do you see for deeper collaboration between the Alumni Association and athletics in the next couple of years?
Yeah, I mean, one, I want to acknowledge so many things are going so well. I really have enjoyed the Alumni Association, the events, the things they do. I mean, Billy's become, even beside a coworker, I think a really good friend for all that he does. I think I go back to something you asked earlier about those alumni that aren't in Northwest Ohio. I think tag teaming those events near and far around the country, around maybe athletics events, or including some of our athletic staff to get to know some of our alumni that don't live here, and forming that connection. When we talk about going to Dallas or Denver or San Francisco, whatever it is, a lot of times it's a lot easier to kind of coalesce around a game or event than it is just out of nowhere, right? And so as we think about watch parties or other events, certainly there's the athletics nexus, and we can use that platform, that front porch approach, to really tell the story of Toledo and bring that connection to, again, to an institutional standard. And so I think partnering more on those events, because we as athletics, as a priority for us right now, not leaving Northwest Ohio, but certainly getting out of our offices and getting out more and meeting our alumni where we're at. I think the last year I did more of that than I had historically, and I saw it pay dividends. And then whether it was going to New York or hitting different parts of Florida or getting to Texas, you saw immediately, okay, there's value in this. And so we need to double down on those efforts.
So as far as like a call to action, if you could ask alumni for one thing this year, whether it was time, engagement, advocacy, mentorship, what would it be, and kind of a little bit of why behind that?
Yeah. I'd say leave it all out on the court. Leave it all out on the court. And so here's what I mean by that. I believe the next 24 to 36 months of college athletics are the most critical in the University of Toledo's history. Most of the TV contracts around the conferences of the nation come up between 2029, 2031. There's going to be a lot. Most of us expect a large-scale change, shift, restructuring, reshuffling to happen in college athletics. The University of Toledo and our athletics program needs to be at our peak over these next 24 to 36 months, right? And when you say 24 to 36 months, that starts to feel really scary because that's really close. We cannot afford to take backslide or steps back in this modern environment. We've got to continue to push forward. We've got to be uniquely Toledo and the best version of Toledo athletics we've ever been. So by virtue, I would ask everybody associated with myself, our staff, our coaches, our student athletes, and our alum to leave it out on the table. And so if the best you can do is wearing a T-shirt and representing Toledo, let's go for it. If the best you can do is be a mentor to our student athletes and show up for our games, let's go for it. If the best you can do is become a Rocket Fund member, or 1923 Society, or whatever it may be, do that. Maybe it's to be a sponsor. Maybe it's to refer a student to attend the university. Everybody's got ability, right? But we need all of us to stretch beyond what we think is possible, to try to aspire to something we think is impossible, because that's what our athletics department is trying to do right now, right? I talk a lot about accomplishing the impossible, because impossible is a phrase usually of quitters, right? People that don't believe you can do something are quick to tell other people what's impossible. We won't buy into that. I won't be capped by the conference. I won't be capped by location. I won't be capped by size of institution, any of that. We have the ability to do something amazing here at the University of Toledo. But to accomplish that, we need everybody all in, all the time, leaving it all out on the court. And I can promise you our coaches, our staff, our student athletes, and myself are going to make sure we do that.
And so, Brian, on our board for the Alumni Association, one of our priorities as part of our strategic plans is building and increasing student philanthropy. And so we've been at that now for about a year or two. And we've seen some success, some excitement around that, recognition at graduation with a different chord for trying to build that and grow that. Do you see any ways where student athletes maybe either participate in that or could help grow that as part of their role?
Yeah, I think that's an incredible initiative. I remember when I was a student athlete, I didn't understand how all these pieces of the puzzle via the college and or the athletic department fit together. And I didn't understand how these people or how I got the things and the opportunities that I got. And as I've gotten out of from playing days and being a student to obviously working in the industry, I've gained a better understanding of like these things are critical to the longevity of our institution as a whole. And if you don't start with some level of involvement. It's really hard to kind of let you stray away, get started in life, and then get you to circle back. And so if we can get individuals involved at a base level, and for some, it's understanding what is philanthropy. I mean, I did not grow up in a household where that was a term thrown around. We didn't grow up giving away money or investing in causes we believed about. That just wasn't something that I was used to. And so I had to kind of be educated about what it is, why it is, and passing along the blessings that I've had in my life to others. And so we've tried to do a really good job in our athletic department, at least for the last 3 years, of having 100% staff giving across the board. And just call it what it is. I've told everybody, like, if you don't want to give, I'll make a gift on your behalf because I want to make sure we attain this. Now, to date, I hadn't really had to do that because everybody stepped up to the plate, but that's transitioned to our students. And you've seen several teams of student athletes say, hey, our entire team is on board this year. And my hope would be not only do they get in the understanding of what it's like to gift, but they go through the process, right, of being cultivated, being stewarded, and thanked for that gift and understanding what the impact was of the gift that you made. So they say, you know what? That felt good. I want to understand that. And as I use my degree in the student athlete experience and all the support I have at Toledo to better my life and my family's life, that one day I want to reach back and make sure the next Bryan Blair at the University of Toledo has that same opportunity. And so I think it's so incredibly critical to get individuals in on that ground floor. And who else better than our students to not only give, but tell the story of why they gave. Because if the reason why we're all here is our students and they feel comfortable giving, what excuse do the rest of us have? And so I think it's an incredible initiative to get started on this ground floor. And my hope is Toledo Athletics can continue to support that and any other initiatives our alumni board has.
Yeah, and it's can be tough, especially as a student or just starting out in a career. And it's important if you're able to, even if it's a very small amount, just to get into the habit of it. And then hopefully as you're able to later in life, maybe you see, like you mentioned, you get a closer affinity to that, or you see a lot more value in that, and you're able to maybe increase that. But it's always, a lot of times we preach participation rather than dollar amount when you're younger. It's just more about getting involved and getting that connection and keeping that connection. Absolutely. So happy to hear what you're doing on that respect. That's definitely appreciated.
Oh, greatness is a team sport.
Yep. So, Bryan, is there any ways that you see or that you've experienced where our coaches on our teams have had benefit either directly from alumni engagement or mentorship or relationships that have kind of developed naturally or legacy for that matter?
Absolutely. A couple examples come to mind. I think one, our women's basketball program. When Coach Cullip was here, she had started a mentorship program where many of those mentors are Rocket alumni, come in and really lean into our young ladies, pull them under. Many of them are from different parts of the country, make them feel comfortable, but also help them grow as young women by the time they leave here. We've actually adopted that as a department to really try to expand that beyond just women's basketball to our other sports. But even when we were doing interviews for a women's basketball coach after Coach Cullip left and we were interviewing candidates, our alumni base and our fan base interaction is nationally renowned in women's basketball. And I think so often when you have something, you can maybe take it for granted. But every coach we talked to said, hey, I've heard about the Toledo fans. I've heard about the Toledo alums. I understand what that means. And honestly, to get a coach like Coach Bogus, who was coaching and winning championships already somewhere, and said, you know what, I'm going to leave this and the beaches of New Jersey to come to Toledo, Ohio, and be a part of what you got going on. Our alumni in this community was a big piece of it. And so you see that in that sport, but you flip on the other side and you see Coach Kowalczyk, who is one of the greatest community engagers, if that's a word, on our staff. I mean, I think he loves getting out of the community, calls it home. Certainly he's got his place here in a lake house, and he's been here so long, he really embodies his community as a whole and enjoys and relishes that role. But you take somebody brand new, like our new head football coach, Coach Jacobs. And Coach comes in, he's from Maumee, Ohio. And so as the early weeks, as we take him around and have him talk to individuals and different alum, the amount of alums that reached out and said, I grew up with Coach Jacobs, or I knew him before, his dad coached here and I played under his dad or the like. There's so many connections to our alumni base that, again, he was a really hot commodity. He had turned a lot of jobs down. And for him to say, you know what, I want to come to Toledo, that's a dream of mine, to come there, not only because it's home, because it's an amazing job with amazing support. A lot of that has to do with our alumni base and their support. And so this thing feeds each other, right? We talk a lot about how athletics can help make our alumni proud, but our athletic department is not nearly as strong as it can be without the support of our alumni. And so that ecosystem is something we want to continue to maintain, but certainly stoke the fire too, because one helps the other.
Yep, absolutely. Ryan, one of the things that I was involved in that kind of correlated or related to rocket athletics when I was in school many years ago was the Blue Crew. And I've since seen a lot of support from the alumni of Blue Crew, but I've seen what they're doing and their help of rocket athletics kind of grow. Can you talk about, and maybe not necessarily them, but the affinity that certain groups have and how that translates to bettering the athletics program?
Yeah. So I'm not supposed to pick favorites in my role, but if I had to pick a favorite group, it would be Blue Crew. Like, one, the passion they have to show up and show out every single time for all of our events is just unparalleled. You see them traveling across the country to want to get in and represent and do big things all over. I know, like, nationally, they become something that people notice, whether it be ESPN or different venues. They want to focus on Blue Crew because it makes us distinctive in college athletics. So I think, one, that's important. Probably even beyond that, though, I've become a big fan of how Blue Crew alum lean back and give back to Blue Crew to make sure that experience is passed along for generations. Every homecoming, one thing, when we do our pre-homecoming meeting and we talk through my agenda for Saturday, the one thing that I will not move off of is stopping by the northwest corner of that lot 10 and stopping by the Blue Crew tailgate, because that group, in my opinion, is the most closely bound group of all our alumni functions. We have a lot of alumni functions with shared experiences and they all do a great job, but what I see in Blue Crew is just a pride, not only in the university, but a pride in that experience and what it means to be a Blue Crew member and what it means to be poured in. And then they're making sure that next generation not only sees that and feels that, but certainly feels supported in that, right? And so I think there's a template there for our entire university. When you think about individuals going off and doing things in life and then leaning back, and for current Blue Crew members to say, hey, I'm doing this, but this is the alumni group that I'm joining. These are the people like me that are kind of wired the same way that have gone on and done amazing things. And then you get there and then you taste this chicken that you guys cook. And it is the most amazing food of the homecoming tailgate. I'd love for somebody to top it. I'm happy to taste test all over Lot 10. But to me, the bar has been set, and I've continued every time I bite into a piece, try to understand like what exactly it takes to produce that quality. But Blue Crew is amazing. But I think even beyond Blue Crew, the example and the template that's laid for what alumni support can look like to empower the dreams of our current students, kudos to that group and all you guys do.
Well, thank you. Very kind words, and I think we're going to have to consider making a little bit more after that glowing review. Well, that is all the prepared questions I have, unless you have anything additional you'd like to share.
No, I just quickly want to say, I love this community. And when I moved across the country, you've got questions. I knew my wife was from Ohio. I knew I'd heard that it was a great job. I honestly did not know how much I'd enjoy the university or the city. I was just taking a flyer. What I found is this is an incredible place with incredible people with incredible potential, right? And it gets me so excited every morning because, unlike some of my colleagues, I get to dream big every morning when I drive in. I come up 475 from Mommy. I get off on door, and the entire time I'm thinking about what I get to go after today, what I get to chase and pursue and be passionate about. That is an incredible blessing that not everybody gets to live every day. I think Toledo's been a blessing for my wife, my kids, and myself, and so incredibly proud to be a Rocket.
Excellent. Well, appreciate your time today, talking and telling us a little bit about yourself and your vision. So I think with that, we're going to wrap it up.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it, Bryan. Thank you.
Yeah, go Rockets.
Go Rockets.